Hello, I'm Helen Bradley. Welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can batch, resize, and if you wish, also convert your photos in Photoshop. It's not immediately apparent from Photoshop that you can batch resize images very quickly and easily. To do so, in most of the recent versions of Photoshop, you can just select File and then Scripts and then Image Processor. In the Image Processor dialog, you'll just work through the 4 steps to resize your images. To begin with, you need to select the images to process, and while you can use any open images by selecting this option button, most of the time what you really will want to do is to select the folder of images on disk. So I'm going to click Select Folder, and I already have a folder of images here called Resize Me, and it's got 2 subfolders of images inside it, but I'm going to select this parent folder and click OK. Having done that, I can then determine whether or not I want to include in the resizing process the images in subfolders of the parent folder, and I do want to, so the images inside Paris and Rome subfolders will also be processed. Then I'll select the location to save my processed images into. If I select Save in Same Location, Photoshop will save the resized images alongside the originals. It doesn't overwrite them, it just pops them in a separate subfolder. If you wanted to, however, you could select a different folder to put the resized images in. I'm going to select Save in Same Location. Now we can select the file type that we want to save the images into. I'm going to choose JPEG, and I'm going to set the quality. Now the quality is the Photoshop sliding scale of quality that you'll be familiar with if you have saved images in Photoshop as JPEGs. It's a 0 to 12 scale. 0 is the highest compression, 12 is the lowest amount of compression, and because I don't want to wreck these images, I'm going to set it to 12, the highest possible amount of file size. So the file sizes are going to be very large, but the quality is also going to be very high. I'm going to put these images on the web, so I'm going to select Convert Profile to sRGB because that's the profile that we use on the web. You don't have to do that, but if you do convert the profile, then you will want to include the ICC profile inside the image most likely. And now we get to choose the resize option. So I'm going to select resize to fit, and then I get to choose how wide or how tall I want my images to be. Now again, this is really confusing because it looks as if my images are going to be resized to 200 by 200, which is going to be a humongous big problem because my images aren't square. Let's have a look at them. These images are portrait and landscape images, and they're a mix of them. Some portrait, some landscape. So sizing to 200 by 200 would be really problematical, but that's okay because in actual fact that's not what's going to happen. When I choose resize to fit and set a width or a height or both, what Photoshop is going to do is size these images so that the width of any one of those images will never exceed 200 pixels, or the image height will not exceed 200 pixels. So if it's set to 200 pixels high and it's a portrait image, then its width is going to be much less than 200. It will need to be. Now 200 is a bit small for me, so I'm going to set these to 300 width, and for the height I think I'm going to make that 350. So any image will be looked at and the longest side will be sized to 350 or to 300 depending on the orientation of the image. We could also save as PSD or TIFF depending on what we wanted to do with the images. I'm including ICC profiles so that the sRGB for profile will be written to the files. That's all I need to do. I'm just going to click Run to run the process. Photoshop opens, checks and resizes each of these images in turn and then saves them into a folder on the disk. Now one of those images was not a JPEG, all the others were JPEGs, but there's one that was a TIFF, and that will have been converted to a JPEG in the process. Now as soon as these images are complete, we're going to open this folder, they're done now, and have a look and see what we have. This is the Resize Me folder with its two subfolders, and now it's got a subfolder added to it called JPEG, and in here are the JPEG resized images from the original Resize Me folder. If I click on any of these images, we can read off the size. Here the dimensions are 300 by 214. Here the dimensions are 236 by 350. The landscape orientation images won't be any wider than 300 pixels in width. The portrait orientation images are all 350 pixels high, and whatever they need to be in width to be scaled without pushing them out of shape or bending them out of shape. Now let's go back to Resize Me and let's go to the Paris images. Here again we've got a JPEG folder, and inside that folder are all of these images resized again to the specifications that we set. And if we went into the Rome folder, that would be the same. And if we have a look at this image, which was originally a TIFF, let's go to the JPEG folder, and you'll see it's here, but this time it's been converted to be a JPEG image. So we have run a process by just setting a few options and clicking a button, and it's resized and saved some 20 to 30 images. And you could run this process, this file, scripts, image processor on even really large folders of images, so you can automatically process these images and resize them for sharing or for the web or for whatever purpose you have. You're not overwriting the originals, and it's a very quick and simple process. I'm Helen Bradley. Thank you for joining me for this video tutorial. Look out for more of my tutorials on this YouTube channel, and consider subscribing to the channel and you'll be alerted when new videos are released. And visit my website at projectwoman.com for more tips, tricks and tutorials on Photoshop, Photoshop Elements, Lightroom, Illustrator and a whole lot more.